싶은데.
Let's talk about all things, and say it quietly, Tom, tax. But it's all good on this occasion because Abu Dhabi and Dubai have secured the top 2 positions in a new global index ranking the world's most tax-friendly cities. This is according to Multipolitan's Wealth Report 2025, the Tax Generation flagship report for the organisation, introducing the inaugural Tax-Friendly Cities Index that we'll get on to shortly. And makes for really interesting reading. It's now available online and by request as well. Multipolitan itself was founded back in 2024 to offer a product-driven global migration platform that supports international travel, relocation, business setup and asset management. So therefore, everything that people are looking for here in the region at the moment. It was founded by Lee Smith and the Chief Executive Officer, Nirbhay Handa, who joins us now live on the line from Singapore. Nirbhay, thanks so much indeed for your time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tom, for having me. Hello from Singapore.
Yeah, good to have you on board, and we'll get to all things Singapore shortly. They know a thing or two about tax, don't they? But before that, what puts Abu Dhabi and Dubai at the top of your tax-friendly cities index?
Thank you. So, Tom, essentially, we went through a multi-metric analysis to come up with the tax-friendly cities of the world. What we realized is just low tax is not enough. So we looked at things like the tax rate environment, which includes different types of taxes, for example, property tax, wealth tax, corporate tax. Then the second thing that we looked at, which is a second metrics, is international tax accessibility. So how many double taxation agreements you have as a country. And, that gives investors a lot of confidence so they're not taxed twice, right? And the third piece we looked at is you may have a really low tax rate, but if you don't have stable governance and regulatory clarity, that will mean very little for investors. And on the basis of all these metrics, Abu Dhabi, UAE was ranked number 1, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Singapore. So these were the rankings that we came up with. And essentially, there are almost 7 cities out of the Gulf that are part of the top 20 in this index.
It's interesting as well because it is a far-ranging report. 164 jurisdictions are taken into consideration here. I mean, in terms of what it speaks to business owners, startup founders, or high-earning professionals of, what does this actually mean for them?
Yeah, so this is extremely meaningful. So, Tom, the reason the report is called the Tax Generation, because we feel we are the tax generation. We've seen the changes in tax in the UK, abolishing the resident non-dom tax. We've seen conversations in France. We've seen conversations in Netherlands on wealth tax. And as a result of that, wealth is not only built in this generation, wealth is also being defended. And geography has really become the ultimate strategy for that. And as a result of that, UAE, Abu Dhabi and Dubai, they're really on top of the agenda for high-net-worth families around the world because of their fiscal intelligence, because of their neutrality as a country. And that's really important for entrepreneurs because of their predictability, because of the laws that exist, and particularly what the work that DIFC and ADGM they've done. They've truly become international benchmarks for asset management globally. So that's what it says. That's what it implies, Tom.
You mentioned there the regulatory stability, and obviously that regulatory frameworks are evolving at the moment. But let's cut to the quick if we can nearby. I mean, just how important or how attractive is zero personal income tax in a geography?
So it is attractive only if it's backed by stable governance, right? So investors are asking, hey, there may be low headline tax, but can I keep my wealth in this country for the next 10 years? And that's why low headline tax combined with regulatory clarity is extremely important. And that's what this index talks about, right? The other piece that we're thinking is in the next 10 years, obviously tax is important, tax environment is important. What's going to be really a big driver for attracting wealth is going to be, are these cities climate resilient? Are these cities digitally ready? And if you look at UAE is one of the most digitally ready cities in the world, and they're taking also a lot of initiatives on the climate action. So combining a good fiscal infrastructure, a fiscally intelligent place, adding climate action to it, and at the same time being digitally ready is going to determine where the future wealth is going. And I believe UAE is going to do very well over these metrics over the next 10, 15 years.
You make a really interesting point, one I hadn't really thought about, because you talk about a lot of the traditional capitals around the world and the disgruntled residents of them at the moment. A lot of that's got to do with legacy taxes, be that property transfer, be that inheritance as well. Are those things that even come into consideration here, especially in these new geographies?
No, absolutely. And if you look at, the overall, as I said, tax rate environment in these geographies is extremely conducive. But more than that, I think what investors are really driven by is predictability. It's the rule of law, right? And I think places like Singapore, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai, they're giving a lot of confidence to investors worldwide.
Looking at the region as a whole at the moment, and yet, we know there is relocation. Yep, we know there is demand for jobs here in the Middle East, the UAE and the further Middle East as well. How much of that is down to tax policy, and how are other cities here in the GCC matching it at the moment? Are they catching up?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we believe Muscat is a great opportunity there. It's very habitable. Having said that, I believe Gulf is sort of emphasizing its importance on the whole together as a neutral place of doing business and also being very fiscally competitive. So, tax does play a role, but I don't think it is the only indicator where wealth is going to move. I think investors are looking at things like how habitable is this place, how well connected is this place, how conducive it is for their startups to grow. And looking at all of these metrics, UAE obviously stands out very much, Tom, as we know.
In terms of that, I think you made a really valid point a little bit earlier on about this sort of global shift in wealth preservation at the moment. Not so much in wealth generation, but preservation at present. Can we make the argument for a bit of a tax race going on here in the Gulf?
Well, I wouldn't say that would be accurate because, as I said, tax is just one part of the equation.
Okay.
I think investors are looking at also other elements around predictability, right? The rule of law. This is a trust-first economy, right? Is this jurisdiction offering the right counterparty trust to their other countries? For example, what are the double taxation agreements like? So I think those things are also quite important. So I think the buzzword here is substance. I think investors are looking for substance. And in the long term, they feel wealth is going to be preserved by cities that are digitally ready because we're walking into a Web 3.0 revolution, as we know. At the same time, the cities would need to be climate resilient. So combining fiscal intelligence with digital readiness, being politically stable, and being climate resilient is where the future wealth is going to go. And that's where, Singapore, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai, they become very strong contenders.
Flagship report from Multipolitan. As I mentioned, you founded back in 2024. I've only got 30 seconds left with you, Nirbhay, but is this one of the reasons why you and Lee set up Multipolitan?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm very grateful I get to live in both Singapore and UAE. And I believe, these two places are going to be the epicenter for wealth preservation in the future for families around the world.
Look, really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed for joining us live from Singapore. That's the Chief Executive Officer of Multipolitan, Nirbhay Handa, who's been kind enough to join us live on the line.
Thank you, Tom. Take care.